Hi everyone. This week, I'm talking about China looked at putting a monitoring satellite in retrograde geostationary orbit through the moon. China has already considered enhancing its space situation awareness abilities by placing a satellite in the retrograde orbit out at the geostationary area. The geostationary orbit is called GEO. This satellite is used for monitoring activities and predicting any warnings. According to the paper published by the author from the Xi'an Satellite Control Center, it indicates that the researchers found out a new way, which using the swing of the moon to put a monitoring satellite in the retrograde geostationary orbit. As we know, the satellites in geostationary orbit are of great value to the government and business. And so that's the reason why China want to place a monitoring satellite out at geostationary orbit. However, putting the satellites into retrograde geostationary orbit is really a big challenge because its trajectory is the opposite of other objects in the geostationary orbit. The spacecraft launching to the west will be failed due to the high energy loss. And that's the reason why the author citing earlier Western papers on the topic to consider another path to retrograde geostationary orbit through the moon. But launching to the east will solve this problem, and the spacecraft could achieve the orbit through the rotation of the Earth. However, the idea of putting satellites in specific orbits through the swing of the moon was mentioned earlier, and this new approach can indeed greatly reduce the cost. But there are still many unknown risks and dangers, so it has not yet been used. The first reason is that the monitoring satellites will pass through the geostationary orbit at a higher relative speed than other objects, which will increase the probability of the collisions. And also the higher speed of the satellites in retrograde geostationary orbit are difficult to detect in detail. So because of these concerns, China has not used this new approach. But actually, in my opinion, I think the new ideas are beneficial for exploration and development. But the premise is that we need to ensure the feasibility of this approach, and we need to conduct a comprehensive evaluation and consider if the current technology can be achieved or not. And if the technology can't be achieved, and we need to choose a relatively safe way to place a monitoring satellites in the retrograde geostationary orbit.